Yo, what's poppin', everybody? How y'all doing out there today? Welcome back to the podcast, another episode of Caffeine and Green with your man, Conor Cardenas. And before we get into it today, man, I just want to give a huge shout out to the title sponsor of Caffeine and Green, which is 7 Seas Roasting Company, coming straight out of San Diego, my home roaster. Now, what makes this roastery so sick is that we get to work with these farmers. We're not just getting these coffees, we're working with them directly and making sure that everybody's taken care of. So we're not taking care of just the consumer, we're taking care of that farmer as well. So it's really awesome. We get to showcase these coffees. Now, full transparency, I am the head roaster at 7 Seas. But regardless, you know that the coffee that I'm giving you is straight fire, yo. So if you head over to the website, 7seasroasting.com, use my code C and G at checkout, you're going to get 3 bags of coffee for $30. That's an amazing deal because 2 bags of coffee is essentially $32. So you're getting a bag for free. It's a no-brainer. So you can go over to the website, choose from any of the coffees that we have, like our dark Guatemala, which is chocolatey and it's full-bodied and it's a little bit of our dark roast. And it's just, we have other options. We have a Peruvian, we have our Lao coffees, the Fodom Quan, our new Lao, and Setapung as well. So we got options, people. So use that coffee code C and G at checkout, and you'll be good. My guest today, Rob Moran. He is one of the owner and operators of Heartwork Coffee here in San Diego, California, and he is a rad dude. I really enjoyed our conversation this evening at 7 Seas, and I have to say I was super surprised about his in-depth knowledge of music and how much he loves music and the fact that he traveled the world doing that. And then in collaboration with all the music he's done, he's gotten to visit some amazing coffee shops, and we talked about the origin story of Heartwork and how it got its name and just basically his love for coffee. So it was a really fun and musically influenced podcast. I really hope you guys enjoy this. And yeah, Rob Moran, this your time to shine, homie. Let's go. Give me caffeine and green. It's your boy Conor. What's good? Good. Caffeine and green.
You want your metronome going?
Yeah, I know. And we're live. Rob. Is it Rob Moran?
Yeah, Rob Moran.
Welcome to Caffeine and Green, sir.
Happy to be here.
Cheers. Nice, man. You're one of the, you're only, I want to say maybe the second person. No, correction. Third person who's actually drank coffee on Caffeine and Green during the podcast. I will say. So, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, but
great.
it's by no means do you have to drink coffee while you're on the show. I mean, I have the name for the standpoint that I roast coffee and that I work in coffee and I know a lot of coffee people, but my background is mainly in skateboarding and like hip hop music and running and just all these other interests that I have. But I honestly just wanted a clever name, and Hustle and Motivate got taken by another magazine. So
yeah,
but it's okay. But yeah, I mean, with that being said, the reason you're on the show today is you own, co-owner of Heartwork Coffee.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, it's essentially 3 couples who own it. So it's me and my wife, my brother and his wife, and our longtime friend Sam and his wife. So it's technically 6 couples that own it, and we kind of just manage it and run it and market and roast and do everything ourselves. We built the place with our bare hands, got the spot.
Yes.
Yeah, did concrete, plumbing, tile, everything by hand, with their own bare hands. And it was fun because when we were first moving in there, the neighborhood was pretty psyched to see us. People were like, oh, what kind of coffee are the owners going to serve? And we're like, we don't know yet. We haven't opened. And they were tripping out that we were actually the owners and in there digging ditches and jackhammering and laying tile. And yeah, it was fun.
Dude, that's rad.
Yeah.
I back that super hard. Well, because then it's not merely just a business at that point.
Yeah.
It's so much more. Mm-hmm. And it's, for lack of a better term, it's your own blood, sweat, and tears have gone into that shop.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are putting My friend Ethan, I saw him recently, just went there, and there was like Maggot something. It's like some band was like on a flyer or something, or like on a wall behind him. I haven't actually been to your spot yet.
Yeah.
But I am familiar with it, and I was like, oh, so after, we've been emailing, and I realized you're into, is it punk rock?
Yeah, punk, hip hop, metal.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much anything but R&B, like modern R&B and modern country. I'm just not into. Other than that, I can fuck with a lot of different stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I've been feeling funk a lot lately.
Yeah.
A lot of funk. I'm talking a lot of James Brown, a lot of the newer Chromeo.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen Chromeo a couple
great.
times.
Yeah.
So that is just, dude, in person.
Yeah.
Whoo.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Dude.
Yeah, Chromeo's awesome. I like a lot of that stuff. Motown, Stax Records, and then I can mess with like old rocksteady and ska, like the Treasure Island, Trojan Records stuff. And
sick.
Yeah, I can get into that, or I can listen to Czarface and whatever else. So it's I don't know, and I think that's part of the shop and why it's so diverse and why we wanted to build it in the first place is I think coffee is very communal, and there's very ritualistic and communal, and it's something that people get up, they make their coffee and they go about their day, or they get up, they make their tea and they go about their day, or they're going about their day and they stop to take a break and have a coffee or tea and sit back. And we always wanted to have this space where didn't matter who you were, you're all there for the same thing. Everybody wants just a good cup of coffee or tea or a pastry, and just to kick back and forget about shit for 20-30 minutes and then go about their day. And that was always important to us. And it's my favorite thing about the shop is when I go there and I see this law professor talking to a tattoo artist, or this doctor talking to this artist or musician, or we have someone who's high up, like an executive VP, like at an oil company, and he's just hanging out talking to punks about soccer and music and stuff. And that's what we love about the shop. It doesn't matter like who you are or what you're into. It's just you're all there for the same thing, to just have a good time and have coffee and hang out. And when I look out, especially I pretty much only work on Saturdays now, and when I look out on Saturdays and it's just super busy, and I just see the different faces, and old people, young people, it doesn't matter, and all talking, hanging out, and that means the world to me. That's like, we felt like mission accomplished. That's what we set out to do, and we've done that, provided this cool space for people in Mission Hills to come hang out at.
How long has the shop been there?
4.5 years now.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
Dude. I had Poor Vita on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And I had Milo, Caro, and Avril. And they were like, yeah, we've been here for 3 years. I'm like, dude, holy crap. And we've been open here at Seven Seas for 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
So we're not even cracked a year yet. I mean, well, the physical location.
Yeah,
we
you guys
grew
were
out
doing
of the
markets,
we grew out of the market. So I guess that in that sense we're like a year, or 2017. So we're coming up on 2 years.
Yeah.
But when I think of physical locations, I'm like, dude, I can't even. I honestly don't even know how to think that far in advance in terms of a coffee brick and mortar store, or a shop, if you will. But I mean, that's super awesome. Everything that you said, it definitely. That's the reason I love coffee. I feel like coffee brings people together, and I can totally get behind exactly what you're saying. My favorite part, when I started off at Zoom Coffee up in Sereno Valley.
One of my favorites in San Diego, yeah.
Dude, thank God you know. Because not a lot of people do. I mean, maybe like the newer generation, like the newer third wave isn't really that familiar, but it's always popping at that spot. And Steve and everything that he set forth, and they've been there for like 13 years, 14 years.
Like that, yeah.
There's people who would come in, and you would see like a surgeon talking to some physicist professor, because UCSD's right there. And I'm like, what? And all they're talking about is football, college football at that. I'm like, well, these guys, man, and they're so smart. Sometimes they'll be sitting there, they don't have classes, or they don't have people, and they're doing their work, and you just see them frantically doing these things, but then they'll take a break have a cappuccino, kick it, and just spit game and talk sports. And I love that.
Yeah.
There's customers that I had there that I legitimately would watch Sports Center or I would watch a game. I know that I would see that person, this guy John. I would see him the next morning, and especially when it comes to basketball. I know you said you don't follow you didn't know the Golden State Warriors, but for me, growing up in the Bay Area, especially, I grew up in Fremont, so Fremont's here, and then you take the BART train up to Oakland. It was like, go to A's games, $2 Tuesdays. You go to Warriors games, Oakland Raider games.
Yeah.
So I love sports. So I'd go back to work at Zoom Bar, and John, and then if I was roasting, I'd take a break, or if I was in production, I'd stop, have a coffee, and then just talk sports. Like, dude, so what do you think about, the finals coming up right now? I don't know, man. Giannis, I don't know. He might not make it, or something, something like that. And for me, these people, I don't really know them, but I know them enough that I've seen them for 3 years every single day.
Yeah.
And you know them in depth about what to expect and what they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
But it's beautiful because it's a cross-section of people you would never really come across unless you were in an environment like this or Zoom Bar or whatever, or any coffee shop. It's a very beautiful thing, and I don't think people realize how lucky they are when they have cool spaces like here or wherever, that you can just go in there and hang out and meet interesting people.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen just walking down the street, or even like if you go to a sports game, it's like, okay, you're there for sports and then you're gone. But with here, coffee shops, everything is slowed down and more chill, and people just kind of, I think, take the time to know each other, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you too.
Dude, so actually, I think if you can get the mic just a little bit closer, because I in my headphones I sounded a little low. Perfect.
Is that better?
Yes, that is perfect right there. The one thing I wanted to ask about, so Heartwork, how did you come up with the name?
So originally, the name was going to be Ceremony Coffee, named after the Joy Division New Order song. And we had everything painted. We were all ready to go. And out of nowhere, we get a cease and desist letter with this company, like, we're Ceremony Coffee Roasters in Baltimore, and, we're going to sue you. And I was like, what? I never even heard of you. And it turned into a whole thing. So we're like, let's, instead of just whatever, I get it, let's just change the name. So we were scrambling. We had 2 weeks. We were literally about to go turn in our business license. So I'm glad we didn't do it yet, because the ceremony thing would have been a bust. So we were just sitting around talking, and then my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, who's a partner at the shop as well, we're all big Carcass fans. It's a metal band from England. And she's like, what about Heartwork? I'm like the Carcass record? She's like, yeah. We're all, fuck, that's the name. And so that's how we came up with the name. But then it kind of also has a double meaning. I mean, it's also, we put a lot of heart into the work, and we did everything ourselves. And so, I mean, that's kind of the more pedestrian version of like what Heartwork means is, we put a lot of heart and hard work into it. But it really comes from the Carcass record, and we're all just big fans.
No, I completely understand that, because that's why I mentioned it to you before, was I got my new tat here, is like the hustle and motivate. Yeah. That was I've said this ad nauseum, but it's the original name of the podcast was Hustle and Motivate.
Yeah.
I got two episodes in, and I would keep Google searching, and then finally, I think it was like around September, October of last year, when I was just kind of getting this going, this Joker magazine or something like that picked up Hustle and Motivate. I was like, fuck. So I came up with Caffeine and Green, but honestly, for me, I love all music, like we've talked about, but for me, my heart and soul is hip hop, and I'm talking like real lyrical hip hop. I'm not talking about new age, like Zanny barred out Zulu Warrior type, I heard that term just the other day. I didn't know that means a Zulu Warriors, like Xanax or whatever. Yeah. But I love lyrical hip hop, and it's
Mm-hmm.
had such a immense impact on my life
Yeah.
that when I hear new rappers that are still lyrically killing it and they still have it's like modern day as opposed to maybe like a Nas or a KRS-One,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Nipsey Hussle who just passed away.
Yeah.
But for me, when I heard Hustle and Motivate, it was, I don't know, it might sound weird, but it was like a life-changing song. The way he raps, and he's like, I don't know, bro. It made me think differently about my life, and just like these guys who are living these lives or the way he lived his life.
Yeah.
It affected me in a sense that it's like, dude, I can completely understand how one record or the name of a record can be so inspirational and be the name of your business.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't know, man. I think that's, now that I know that, I think that's even more badass. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Dude, sick.
No, I mean, but that's kind of the whole thing. I mean, the shop, we're all super hyperly over involved in music, going to shows, playing in bands, zines, whatever it is. We're all, every single person involved in the shop, whether it's a barista or us as owners, we're all heavily involved in music and like all passionate about all different kinds of music. I mean, the other day, I don't know, it was last Saturday, I was like, I just feel like listening to Sade. So it was just like hours of Sade all morning.
Yeah.
And people were stoked. and I, and then we go into other moods where it's, we just, want to listen to, The Cure all day or
Nice.
listen whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'll play different things because it just kind of sets the mood. And I know music is very important, to your point. You look at someone like Nipsey Hussle and what he did for his community and what he did for hip hop, and then as a businessman,
Oh my God,
things
yeah.
he's done is incredible. Like putting like barcodes on T-shirts. If you held your phone over it would take you to a YouTube clip for a movie that he's in. I mean, stuff like that is like next level crazy. And I think that, I think 5 years from now, I mean, people already kind of catching on to how prolific he was, but I think 4 or 5 years from now, people are going to realize like how important he was to that community and to hip hop and to entrepreneurship. He's an incredible person.
Dude, well, that's like that generational wealth on that point where you're talking about how important he was to business. I mean, as a person, not just a hip hop rapper.
Yeah.
As a businessman, he was setting up his children for generational wealth. It's like, dude, he might be gone, but his kids, his businesses, his music, everything's living on.
Yeah.
And I think as a musician, I think that's even more important because, and especially in today's day and age where things are so digital, when you have a vinyl record and, say the power grid goes out, you might find a little generator. You can plug that little thing in there and you got a record, man.
Yeah.
You playing that thing.
Play.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
I love the wax. I love real records. I mean, when I grew up, my music was such a big part of my life in all aspects. I feel like for me, hip hop was where I found mine, but like my brother, he, when I was growing up, he like Metallica, Judas Priest, anytime. Slayer. All that, cut off sleeves, just killing it in the 80s. And then Zeppelin and all these other things. And then I had my dad who was like Motown, Four Tops is his favorite band. Tower Power is his favorite band. And then my mom, who's like Simon Garfunkel, John Denver, Jim Croce, and all these things. And it's like, this is a mishmash in my house. But my favorite thing was that she always had, like, all of them had records. And we had this big-ass record player. And she would just play, I mean, I remember the one that always sticks out to me is the Dolly Parton. And then it was like that dude she always did collaborations with. I can't remember his name. Kenny Rogers?
Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. Oh my God, bro. I can see the record, like the big ass thing. Oh man.
Yeah, it was the same in my house. I mean, my parents were super my dad was really into like the Kinks, Rolling Stones, the Who, Janis Joplin, that type of stuff. And then my mom was like really into Motown and really into like musicals, like Grease and that type of stuff.
Sick.
And so the same thing, just a bunch of records, and just I remember all the time just putting them on, like looking at the covers, reading the liner notes, like who is this person, what's an engineer, what is a producer, thinking all these things when you were a kid what does all this mean? And being obsessed with lyric sheets and liner notes
Yep.
of all the people it took to make this record, all the people it took to play on this record. I always found that fascinating, is that other side. I mean, and yeah, to your point earlier, I think that it really makes you a well-rounded individual musically, because you're into different influences.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, for me, with hip hop and stuff, I'm old. I mean, I'll be 47 this year.
Oh, wow. Dude, you don't look 47, bro. You look good.
Clean living.
There you go.
Just a lot of coffee.
All right.
I grew up and really into hip hop growing up, and breakdancing, the whole bit.
Really?
In the early 80s, yeah. Run DMC, LL Cool J, Nucleus, like all these different things. Egyptian Lover. I still have all these LPs. I have a giant vinyl collection, but I still have those LPs from when I was a kid growing up, like original, all those old records. And, from there, I kind of like, this kid played me some punk records, and it blew my mind open. And then I got heavily into punk, and I still am into all these things. Got into metal and Slayer, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I always kept an ear to the ground on hip hop. I never stopped liking it. So, I was able to, find out about Tribe and Gangstar, and Guru, and then NWA, and I got to see a lot of these bands play growing up, which was really cool. I mean, I saw BDP artists play at a boxing ring in downtown, and
really,
Jamalski played at an old boxing ring. It's gone now; it's leveled, and it's like some monstrosity of a condo place. But they used to have hip hop shows there, and Jamalski from BDP played there. I saw Cypress Hill and Tim Dog play at, which is now Hamburger Mary's over in Hillcrest. It used to be a gay cowboy bar called Kickers. And Cypress Hill and Tim Dog played there, and it was $3 to get in. It was before their album came out. They just had a couple of singles.
Sick.
Yeah, so I saw EPMD on the Hit Squad tour with Redman. So I was going to those shows, but then the next night I would go see some crazy hardcore band or punk band. I was always had a toe in both worlds, because hip hop, I always found it stimulating. I think the beats, the lyrics, and when you talk about the new artists, and there are some good new artists, I think, and some of it's just trash fun weekend, like go crazy
turn
stuff.
Up music,
and there's a place for that too. But I mean, I love Guru and Eazy-E.
Dude, Two Times and Pass is one of the best songs. I mean, I smoke weed, but I don't smoke a lot of weed anymore, because I run so much that it's like, bro, it literally hurts my lungs if I run. And I'm just getting older. I mean, I used to be able to just pull it off, no problem. But when I hear Two Times and Pass, I can literally just sit there and smoke a blunt to that music, no problem.
Like, sit back.
Dude, yeah. I mean, that, or one of my other favorite tracks, Rather Unique by AZ. That's
AZ.
Oh my God, dude. My techniques speak. I'm rather unique. That right there. Or one thing that translated from I guess you got a triple whammy right here. I needed a coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I could find in Harlem when I was out there skating, I was on a skate trip. The only coffee I could find was at a Starbucks, and I found the Starbucks, and I just, let me get an espresso, and of course it was garbage.
Yeah.
No offense, but I went there, and then knowing I loved Big L. He was just so raw and so gangster. 139 in Lenox is the danger zone. And then I'm skating through Harlem with these guys that I met, and we're doing it, and then all of a sudden I look up, and I know where we're at, and it's 139 in Lenox.
Yeah.
And I'm tripping in my head.
You're like thinking about all these lyrics. You're looking at it.
And I'm like, isn't this the danger zone? And my homie was like, oh, bro, no, it's like safer now. It's still a little sketchy in certain parts of Harlem, of course. But to stand there and just know, all I could think about was the cover. Because the cover was of Big L standing on that corner.
Yeah.
And it was so, I don't know, for me, it was so moving. I was I don't know, touched in a way. I feel like that's weird to say, but it had an effect on me that, yo, I'm in New York City. I'm on 139 in Lenox. I've been listening to Biggie all day. I was in Brooklyn yesterday, and it's just, or the Brooklyn Zoo, or, something, bro.
Well, especially too, it's like being into skating and you're going to New York, and it's like that's the time of like when New York was popping off, and that brand, and Biggie, I probably was passed by the time like you were there.
Oh yeah, no, I was there. This is probably like 5-6 years ago.
Okay, maybe, yeah. But that's the thing. That's the beauty of music. Like you hear, especially with hip hop, you hear about streets and avenues and this and that. When you're there, you're like, oh my God, this is what this is Crenshaw. This is
dude,
whatever. And I don't know. I get what you're saying. Like when you hear about. Like in punk, there's, I've been to CBGB's when it still was around and played there a couple times, and to be there. And
you played there?
Yeah, a couple. I'm old, remember?
Dude, but that's. I mean, not even that you're old. That's amazing. That's like a little feather in your cap right there.
It was, very blessed to have played there a couple times and be there for shows too. But, being at a place like that where it's ground zero for punk, and you're just like, it just blows your mind, and you hear about it, you've seen photos, you've read the books and zines, and then you're standing there just tripping out in this like shithole of a club that like started everything.
Yep. Is there an energy there?
Yeah.
Like an energy off the walls that's like
just
reverberating?
Feel it. I mean, it's just like it's just covered in like a layer of flyers and graffiti and stickers and in this stage that's just like ancient, and the just filthy bathroom and all this stuff. But yeah, there was an energy in that room that you just felt like just this amazing vibe. And there's another place called 7th and A, and it was just another like classic old small punk club from the early 80s that's in a few lyrics and things. And standing there and seeing the Joe Strummer mural across the street, like painted on a wall, and you're just like, God, this is fucking crazy. Yeah. So I totally get what you're saying, especially when you're reading about lyrics for records or songs that are, influential, and you're standing in these places.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, it feels amazing.
Do you, for me, I was introduced to punk through skateboarding.
Yeah.
So Sex Pistols was like a big one for me. And then the Ramones was like a big one for me. And so when you say CBGBs, do they have like, I don't want to say memorials, but do they have things that like memorabilia of, the Ramones or any type of those bands that grace those areas? I mean,
yeah. I mean, there was like photos and like flyers and stuff like that.
Like the Comedy Store almost kind of thing?
Yeah, like a few like, kind of historical artifacts. And now it's like a John Varvatos story. I guess, I don't know, the story I heard is that they were going to just level the place. He got the building to kind of save the space, but convert it into his clothing place. So there is some CBGB stuff, like kind of relics still there.
Okay.
Some of it, but it's, it's inside, it's almost unrecognizable. It's just a John Varvatos clothing store.
Interesting.
But yeah, even, but back then I remember seeing like old photos and like a few flyers and things like that were from way back from the 70s and stuff.
Sick.
And yeah, it was pretty cool.
Dude, that's badass.
Yeah.
So one thing, when we were discussing that, emailing back and forth, and now that we've been talking so much about music, dude, the photo that you sent me that we're going to use to promote this episode is badass photo, man. It looked like a punk show. Yeah. Like what? So what? How did you get into music? What instrument do you play? What led to this music and like extravaganza?
My parents. My I don't know. It's kind of in the blood. Like I had a grandfather who played music. I have a great uncle who's in a famous band from Mazatlan, Mexico. And he's passed, but the band still continues with various family members, and it's kind of just in the blood. And when I was 7 years old, I had a cousin who was about 15, 16, and Kiss was playing at the sports arena, and he wanted to go, but his parents wouldn't let him. My dad's like, "Oh, I'll chaperone him," and he was gonna. And when I was a kid, the San Diego Clippers were in.
Yep, still here.
Yeah, still here, right? And so he told me, "Oh, we're gonna go see the Clippers play," and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Go see a basketball game," not thinking much of it. And I remember getting there, looking around, just like, why are people painted like Kiss? Like I didn't understand. And then when we got inside the venue, I see this just mega mall of merchandise, and I just flipped out, like, we're seeing Kiss, and I was just blown away because my older cousin, who actually now works for Nancy Pelosi directly. He's like her.
What?
Yeah, he's her senior advisor. Yeah,
What?
I have a crazy family. But he took, him and my dad, like they took me to see Kiss. And I was 7 years old. I was on the Dynasties tour. They still had their makeup, and it was nuts. And my dad said I passed out halfway through because of contact high, and then I remember waking up later in the show and whatever. But I remember bits and pieces of
That's
it. But
awesome.
I still have the program, and that was like, oh, I want to learn how to play music. And my dad was a contractor. He just did brickwork and tile work and things, and we had a neighbor that needed a bathroom remodel than my dad, and he was a instrument distributor. So he told them, he's like, well, instead of paying me, how about you give me a drum set, a guitar, and a bass, and
score.
And we'll just do a trade. And he's like, okay. So we did it, and that's how I got my first
You got a
drum
full
set.
drum set?
Yeah, I was
Dude.
like 10 years old, 11 years old.
That's badass.
Yeah, so I started playing drums, started a punk band. Same. My parents split up for a while. We lived in a horrible neighborhood with my mom, and what got me out of gang stuff was skateboarding. Got super into skateboarding. I still skate now and again. Thrasher magazine, all that stuff. That's reading Puss Zone and Thrasher magazine and seeing band reviews and what this band sound like. And I became music and skateboarding obsessed. And that's what kept me out of gangs, kept my brother out of gangs. And that just led to just a snowball of like starting punk bands in junior high and high school, and doing bands out of high school, and then touring, the States and Europe and Asia, South America, all this stuff. And, it's all because basically my dad took me to Kiss, and my mom and dad were very supportive of us just kind of getting into skateboarding and buying records. And, my first report card, I remember, I think I was like in third grade, and second or third grade, and my mom's like, oh, if you get a good report card, I'll take you to Licorice Pizza to get you records. That was the old record store in town. And so she went, and she's like, okay, you could buy an album and 2 45s. So I got AC/DC, Dirty Deeds.
Yes.
Blondie, The Tide Is High, and Men at Work, I Come From the Land Down Under. Those were the 3 records I chose. It's ridiculous.
Those are some solid tracks.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
So that's what I picked. And then it just took, again, getting into records and getting into hip-hop, and, getting like Roxanne and Egyptian Lover and Sugar Hill and all this stuff. And then getting into punk, and then continuing to buy records, sticking with skateboarding, like staying out of gangs. Then my parents got back together, and then we moved neighborhoods, and it was a lot easier to stay out of gang life. And that's kind of what led me to all, as far as music and playing shows and being able to tour. I mean, I got to see the world 10 times over from just playing in punk bands. And I'm so thankful and appreciative of, what the support my parents gave me and my brother to just kind of pursue that. And I remember my mom, she was always kind of like, why don't you just get a job? Because I never had a job. I didn't get a real job till I was probably like late 20s, early 30s.
Damn.
Yeah, I kind of just would tour and then kind of work a little bit, and tour and work a little bit. And I don't know. Yeah, I was probably like 27, 28 when I got like my like kind of first corporate job.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I kind of avoided that life, and I didn't go to school. I did years later, finally got a degree, but you know, I was so into music, and my mom was always like, you know, you need to get a job, you need to go to school. And I get that you're doing all these things, but you know, life's gonna start hitting you in the face, and you need to think about what you're gonna do. And I just never was like, you know. And
Whatever.
then, yeah, and around like '95, we played some show. She was there. It was towards the tail end of one of the first bands I was in, and she saw people just going crazy, and it was packed, and it was bonkers. And she's like, I get it now. Like, I finally understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, you're creating something. You're creating an energy. You're creating a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually, I know how that goes. My brother played in bands my whole life. I mean, I grew up going to like metal shows.
Yeah.
My first concert, well, I guess technically it would be a second, because if my mom hears this, she'll be like, your first concert was Barry Manilow. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, Ma.
Really?
Yeah, it was. Shoreline Amphitheater, bro.
That's amazing.
Dude, my mom sang Copacabana to win tickets on the radio, and she sang it. And
No way.
dude, yeah, I was in 4th grade, and we went to the Shoreline Amphitheater,
That's so sick.
and we sat on the grass, and I slept on her lap, and I like listened to a couple songs, and then
Yeah.
that was it. But when I was 13,
Yeah.
my 13th birthday, my brother bought me tickets to. Dude, I was obsessed with Korn when I was a kid, and he was like, dude, at the Oracle Arena in Oakland, he's like, bro, Rob Zombie and Korn are playing the Follow the Leader tour. He's like, I know you love Korn and they're headlining, but I want to see Rob Zombie. Whatever.
Yeah.
Bought us tickets way up in the nosebleeds, and I did not even care. Well, I saw
You're
like,
just, like, going crazy.
oh my God, this is God.
Are you ready?
Dude, yeah. When they sang stuff like Blind and all the other words, all the ones that are off the first album, bro, I was like losing my shit.
That's so rad.
I was blown away. And they're like Adidas. They played Adidas and all these other
Yeah.
tracks that I'd never heard. And man, I don't know. It was something else. But when it started going even further, was my brother was, hey, you want to go to my shows? And I was like, yeah, bro. Because he was a drummer. He got a drum set when he was like 3.
Oh shit.
So he just like,
Yeah.
that's his thing, dude. He
Yeah.
plays drums. He could play other instruments, but drums is. I remember seeing him. We went to this this like stoner rock show in East Richmond, like deep in the hood.
Mhm.
And the first thing he tells me is, "Don't eat the brownies when they come around." And I was like 14. I brought like a bunch of my friends, and he's just all lit up, and he's on stage, and he's just like. Making these faces and just
Yeah,
like whipping his
killing
hair
it.
around. Yeah. And it, to me, I was like, bro, that was sick. I mean, saw him at the Gilman. I don't know if you're familiar with the
yeah.
Gilman.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
in Berkeley. Saw him there when I was like 15. And oh man, it just, I love that shit. And when you
Yeah.
go there and it's not like a mainstream show,
Yeah.
but the energy and the vibe and people moshing and getting in the pit,
Yeah.
and it's like, hell yeah, you know?
Well, and it's also too. It's like a place, especially seeing something at Gilman. It's so organic, and people are just kind of doing what they're doing, dancing how they want to dance, and it gets crazy in there. You
Dude,
know,
there
it's so
was-
different than in like an arena show, which can get crazy. But
Oh,
at
yeah.
a small space like Gilman and like dirty ass stage, and
Yeah.
you know,
Dude, there was a guy on a unicycle. It came on in between bands during my brother's set, and he like had like, it looked like bowling pins, but they
Yeah.
were lit on fire, and he was like on a unicycle on the stage, like juggling the.
did he have a bald head?
Yeah,
I wonder if it's this guy Greg Bennick.
dude, it might be. Honestly, I didn't know, dude, but I was going through kind of like a thing of photos that I had the other day, and I have photos from that. I was like, babe, look at this. I was like, look at these photos. It was so funny, bro. But I mean, on that same point, I've always gone to shows. I haven't gone to as many like metal or punk in a while, but it's kind of been replaced by going to festivals.
Yeah.
But you can get everything at festivals. But I loved going to one of my favorite metal shows that I ever went to. Two, actually, the same band twice, but different times. I saw them at the I guess it'd be the SAP Arena now. It used to be the Compaq Center in San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Pledge of Allegiance tour. It was when September 11th happened, ironically. with the name. And so because it happened on the day of the concert, they pushed it back to the next week. They were like, don't, you know, we're not going to refund your tickets. The concert's going to happen next week. And it was Slipknot, System of a Down, and Rammstein.
Oh shit. That's
Dude,
awesome.
it was, me and my friend went and we're like watching. We had pretty good seats, but we were watching Rammstein. We were watching System of a Down. And then for Slipknot, I just told my buddy, we were like 15. I was like, bro, we just got to like sneak onto the floor. And they had security guards, and they wouldn't let people on. And then when the show started, they had these like big 666s over the speakers, and they were like lighting up, and everybody's just like looking up at them. And I was like, dude, we gotta time it. We gotta time it. Like, and then sure enough, me and my homie Tyler, we ran in, and then we just ran into the crowd, and so that way we couldn't do it. But we're like, wait, don't go in the pit because these guys are crazy, you know. But then they played the Heretic Anthem off their second album. And he's like, my favorite band was Slayer, and they had the craziest pits. He's like, I want to see the entire floor a pit. And me and my friend are like, oh, fuck.
We're stuck on the floor.
Yeah, we're stuck on the floor. And then I was like, dude, he's like, everybody on the ground. And then so he's like yelling at people. He's like, I see you. You're standing. Everybody on the floor. And then he, like the lead singer, he's like, everybody's on the ground. He's like, when I say 666, when the song starts, you go. And then so he starts playing the song. He's going. 666, and the whole floor just erupted. And I was just like with my buddy. Yeah, dude, it was.
And you're like
so,
15, 16 years old,
bro,
losing your mind.
loving it. Just, dude, I went home. My dad picked us up, you know, because he was like, "I'm not going to this show with you. I'll drop you off and pick you up."
And you're just fired up the whole way home.
I was just like the way home, ears ringing, just like, "Oh my god!"
But see, that's the thing, like. People don't understand, like, that's so powerful to be like 14, 15, 16 and see these things, whether it's your brother playing like a, you know, house party or playing Gilman or going to a big show like that.
Yeah.
You're still inspired. And that's to me, that's the beauty of music, that you can find something powerful. Like, you're never going to forget that experience of being in this gigantic pit. You're going to be probably on your deathbed, and that's going to be one of the things that flash like before your eyes, like being in a massive pit like that, because it's fucking, how often is that gonna happen,
dude know? To bring it back to my brother, he actually, when we graduated high school, it was I don't remember the last, like, it was one of the last albums when the whole band was there. I was obsessed with Slipknot. I loved hip hop, but then it would go right into Slipknot. Didn't even care, bro. I'd be wearing like sideways hat, super baggy pants, but then have like this pentagram Slipknot shirt on. People are just like, what the fuck, dude? I'm just, bro, I love this band. I don't even care. I didn't care. And they were having a show behind City Hall in San Francisco, and my brother's like, dude, it's a super small show. Do you want to see Slipknot for your graduation present? I was like, hell yeah. Me and my brother got in the pit together, and then the clown, I think the clown died. The guy who played the clown died. He jumped in the crowd. They had like the full show that they would have at the San Jose in a big arena, but in this super small, dude. They were like beating the shit out of each other, and then the clown is like, the guy with the big nose grabbed the clown and like threw him into the crowd, and me and my brother are in the pit, and we just reached up, and this guy's just like shaking our hands, and we're just like, ah! We're like, dude, it was so sick. I mean, to get off that, but
no, that's exactly it. I mean, those are things that you'll never, like, few people get to experience that feeling of like being in a situation like that, or going to these like small, like kind of secret shows, you know, type things. Yeah, that's awesome.
Dude, to shift gears a little bit, sorry, I mean, I love that you love music as much as I do, because I can talk about any type of music, but before I get too far into that, because I could talk about it for hours, so with all the music that you've been doing and all the things that it sounds like it dominated your life, where did coffee fit into that?
So coffee, it's a great question. When you're on tour and you're going city to city to city, and one of the things you end up doing is like going to a coffee shop or sitting at a Starbucks or whatever. And in the late 90s, I was on tour and went to this place in Seattle called Vivace. And someone said, oh, they have really good coffee. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I didn't know much about coffee. I just drank it. And I just tripped out. I was like, this is so fucking good. Like, why is this so good? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around what made this different than just getting coffee from 7-Eleven or Starbucks. I just didn't understand. And then I asked the guy, I'm like, did you put something in this? Like, why is this so good? And he's like, no. And then he started telling me about the roast, and I was like, I don't understand what you're telling me.
Yeah.
But I talked to him for a little bit, and he was really nice. And I was just like, look, I don't know anything about coffee. I just drink it. And he started telling me about, specialty coffee, and I didn't, I didn't really understand, but and then I realized, find out where the good shops are when you're in different towns. And so as, tours went on, you kind of avoided Starbucks, and you would find like the cool coffee shops to go to, and different parts of the world. I mean, all
Is this
over
pre-cell
the place.
phones?
Yeah, pre-cell phones, and then mid to late 2000s, like
Okay.
late 2000s, you can start to look things up or like Google things and find shops, or just word of mouth, like where's the good coffee
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
not Starbucks. So it was kind of a little bit of both, because it was kind of, I think, smartphones were still newer then. I think this is probably like, I think that they were probably only on the iPhone 2 or 3, maybe.
Oh,
by
damn.
this
All right.
point.
All right.
So, but, you talk to people about coffee, and Sam, my partner at the shop, one of the partners, he and I, we've all known each other for a long time, since the early 90s. We playing bands, and our bands played shows together, and then years later, he and I ended up playing in bands together. But in 2004, 2005, we both ended up like just living up in Seattle area, and I lived up there for almost 5 years.
Oh,
was
wow.
one of my jobs that I had for a while, doing fraud management for a mobile phone company. But so while I was there, I discovered all these different things. It wasn't like, oh, Vivace's cool, but then there's this place and that place, and I would kind of start to realize, wow, there's so much going on with coffee in Seattle. And Sam and I always talked. I said, one day we should open up a shop together. Like, I think that would be amazing, because he was super into coffee as well. And that's kind of how I got into coffee, is just, through that one shop in Seattle, Vivace, and then going on tour and talking to people about different spots around town. And then with the internet, it made it a lot easier to look up places. And I would just go all over, like, and I was very lucky, because I got to not only tour and see these cities, but I got to try coffee all over the place. And so I never gave up on that kind of dream of opening up a shop one day. So Sam and I, I came into some money, because I lived in North Park when nobody wanted to live in North Park. And I bought a condo long time ago in North Park, and people were like, said I was crazy for living there. That's so dangerous. It's crazy. And I was like, I don't know. I come out here all the time, and I might as well just buy a place here, So, bought a place there and held on to it for a long time, and, decided to sell it. And I said, look, I was talking to my wife, and I said, look, we got this money, we can either all, put it all down on a house, or we can pay off our cars, or do whatever. I go, but I really want to open up a coffee shop with this money, maybe put it down on a house, and then the rest with the do to a shop. And this guy, Sam Shamus, who's kind of a pillar of South Park, he owns Whistle Stop Station, Livewire, Krakatoa, owns all these places around South Park. And I've known him for a long time, because I've been DJing at the Whistle Stop for, 18 years now.
Is this still?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You spinning records?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
Well, Serato now, but yeah. But, about 5 years ago, we switched to Serato. But I've been, DJing there forever. And I said, look, I respect you. You're an amazing businessman. You gave us a chance when there was nothing. And I'm coming into this money. My house is going to close soon. And I want to open up a coffee shop. And he just gave me good advice. He's like, you can do all those things that you and your wife are talking about. Pay off your car, or to put a massive down payment on a home, whatever. He's like, but you're never going to be liquid again. He's like, you have the ability to open up a shop without owing money to anybody, like no investors, no banks, like nothing. He's like, you can do whatever you want, but you're never going to get this chance again. And he's like, if I were you, I would do it, because this is like a once in a lifetime thing. And so, I talked to my wife about it, and I said, okay, we're going to do it. And so when we looked around, found a spot, and, and told Sam, I was like, look, all right, we got the money, and he's a contractor. And I was like, we've been wanting to do this forever. Like, this is our chance. And, my brother and his wife were super interested as well. So, they put in some money, and then we all put in sweat equity to, like, get the spot up and running. And, like, that's how we ended up, being so into coffee and eventually opening up, being part of opening up the shop.
Dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Crazy.
And now you guys are roasting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so for a long time we were a multi-roaster. The first year and a half, 2 years, we did James and Dark Horse for a long time. They were both Dave from James Coffee. I've known him for 25 years, just through music and bands and stuff, and we both kind of just ended up in coffee. And he was really helpful and super instrumental with training and letting us come to his spot when it was just a coffee cart, and just train after hours and learn how to make espresso and steam milk and all these things, and then Daniel from Dark Horse was super helpful with giving advice on what to do, what not to do, the city, all these different things, just from a business perspective. So both of these guys were super helpful to us when we opened, and it's still helpful. But we decided to what ended up kind of happening is people were like, oh, I can just get James down the street, or I can just go get Dark Horse. And we just noticed we weren't doing as well by just having local stuff. I mean, it was great to support our friends, but after a year and a half, 2 years, we noticed retail started to drop off and other things, because people were just like, oh, I can go get this down the street. Like, why would I come here? Other than the fact that it's, So we kind of started to expand and, started, reaching out to a few different roasters, and we did 4-barrel for a long time. And then Onyx Coffee for a while. And then, our favorite was being able to support our friend RJ from Timeless Coffee up in Oakland. He's got a couple shop in Piedmont Ave and another one in Berkeley. And he was another person that was very instrumental when we were first opening, with advice and what to do. And then we settled on Chromatic for a long time, like the last year, out of San Jose. And again, they were super helpful, supportive, and great. Even when we said, look, we're going to be dropping you, not because we're not happy. It's like we decided to start roasting. And even then, they were still, if you guys need any help, you need any advice, let us know. We'll come down, whatever.
So that's a lot, yeah.
It was really cool to have these relationships with different roasteries, some local, some out of town, some out of state, and to get support from people. So yeah, we got a warehouse down in Chula Vista, bought an IR5, set up a whole system with the rolling trash cans, the cement mixer to make the blends, all that stuff. And then Sam, our partner, he went up to the Bay Area for SCAA classes on roasting.
Epic. Boot Coffee or anything?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah, man. That's where I did my first one ever.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, and he loved it and came back just like, oh, my God, I understand now what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And
they give you great coffee there. I mean, they give you the geisha that Willem Boot and Marcus and all those dudes are working with. I mean, that's their batch brew.
Yeah. Here's some geisha on batch. You're like, oh, great.
Dude, it's like, oh, just this? I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how we, started getting into roasting, and it changed everything for us, because now, we don't do a lot of wholesale. We actually don't do much at all. We just have a couple little spots here and there. But, you can kind of pretty much only get it at our place. We don't have multiple locations, and we've noticed things of not that it was ever slow, but things just really turned around because now we're getting people coming from all over the place, like coming to get the coffee
That's tight.
and buying the retail and all of that. And it really changed the game for us to be able to have more control over what we're serving and what we're offering. You know, and it wasn't that it was bad before. It was just like, this is what we're offering. You know, this is all we have. Now we can pick and choose what we want to roast and what we want to serve. And, you know, and I think after, you know, it started August, September is when we started roasting, and now it's like, you know, I think Sam's done a great job with really bringing out the best in what we can do with our equipment and the coffees that we're getting. And yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting journey because I was never into wanting to roast.
Never. Dude.
Because I didn't have a passion for it. You know, I just had more of a passion for just the coffee and serving it. You know, and Sam and my wife, and I think my sister-in-law were all about, like, we should start roasting, and we should just start doing this ourselves. We should need to figure it out. And when we finally started doing it, I remember Dave from James, like, took you long enough. You guys should have done this, like, 2 years ago. And we're like, yeah, but, you know, I was hesitant to do it, and it's a lot of money. It's not like,
oh, yeah, dude.
You know, it's not like, oh, you know, it's a couple $1,000s, and then you get a roaster.
No, it's a big investment.
It's a big investment on every level. It's the roaster. It's the, you know, the cleaning mechanism that you decide to use, the coffee, everything it takes to, like,
the air system.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It doesn't stop. It is very expensive, and we went for it, and so far it's been working out. You know, but yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Diedrich Roasters. I love them.
Yeah.
They actually just featured. I'm in their wholesale book now.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, for the IR5.
Great.
So when they released it at SCA and they gave me a copy, I was tripping. I was like, what? And I opened it up, and I just got a copy of it like a week ago with a note, you know, thank you for letting us use this photo. It's like you go through it. I'm one of like 2 dudes in it.
Yeah.
What? Why? I don't understand, but I feel very blessed and very lucky that they're so amazing there, man. If I ever get to meet those people in person, I'm gonna just, you know, praise. They're amazing people.
Yeah.
But you know, another thing to touch on is you're now the, I want to say 3rd or 4th guest that I've had on that David James Kennedy has basically paved the way for, essentially. Not paved the way, but had such an incremental influence, or I mean instrumental influence in helping them get started in San Diego. I had Steel Mill Coffee on.
Yeah.
He's helping them still doing the James Coffee.
Yeah.
Port Vita.
Yeah.
Dude, and now you and everybody's like, dude, I need to meet this dude. I haven't even met him. And then Eric, the owner, has met him, and I asked him, I was like, bro, I need to meet this dude just to like talk to him about coffee. I mean, I know he's into music and other things as well, and he's been successful, but I mean, I feel like I could talk to this dude for hours, but the fact that he single-handedly has helped as many people as he has in the San Diego coffee community, and makes him kind of a pillar in the community, and not just like, not even like coffee in general. I'm talking like San Diego, which is crazy.
Yeah, because we were fortunate in the fact that, you know, like I said earlier, I think I met Dave in like 94, 95. That's when I met Dave. So I've known him for a long time. And I said, look, I think we're going to open up a coffee shop. Once I kind of settled, like, we're going to do this. And I was, what do we need to do? Like, what do we need to buy? Like, how does this work? You know, and then he just kind of just slowly, like, he spent like 2 months with us. In his little cart. You know, we'd go up to his house up in Poway when he was living up there, and, you know, he would teach Sam and I about things, and then we'd all go to his shop, and we'd all train after hours. And he, after he was being there all day, he would, take an hour or 2 to hang out with us and like teach us things. And he's an incredible person. Super supportive, like we had a problem with our roaster well, not so much our roaster, but at our warehouse, someone ran into our gas line.
Ooh, my goodness.
Outside the building, there was like a car accident and it smashed our gas line, so we couldn't roast for 2 weeks.
Oh.
So I said, Dave, like, we're stuck, and he goes, oh yeah, just bring all your stuff. So Sam and I loaded everything up, and then Sam went up to Dave's spot, and he just let us use his roaster for a couple weekends to just get through until our stuff got fixed.
Nice.
I mean, he's just a great person that would do anything to help people, and you know, because he's had help, people taught him things, and so he's just paying that forward. I mean, even Daniel from Dark Horse is the same way. But you know, you ask him things, he's very open and helpful, and he was very much on that same page of like trying to give advice and helpful to what we needed to in order to open successfully. But yeah, he's a good dude.
Dude, that's so rad,
Yeah.
bro. I'm super stoked to hear that you're roasting. I always, I've had a new, I don't, have you heard of Fob Coffee Co? They just bought a coffee cart and they're doing the City Heights.
Yep.
That's this dude Troy. But I've been telling everybody whoever I meet who's not a roaster, if they ever need help, I have my little network of roaster homies. I got, the Siri Cimarron at Lofty. I got my homie Asa up at Leap. I got Steve up at Zumbar. So I feel like I've kind of connected into the little network of roasters because there's still not a whole lot of roasters in San Diego. I feel that'll probably change here within the next couple of years because, like yourself, anybody who's going to open up a coffee shop eventually, you're going to have to either get into roasting or you're going to have to accept the amount of money that you're going to be, I don't want to say losing because it's not losing. You're not losing money, but the amount of money you're going to be spending on buying wholesale, especially when you get into the single origins and things that are so limited that are, not able to purchase throughout the year, like something like a Sadama or something like that.
The seasons change and there's only so much on lot, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so who are you getting your coffee? Inter-American, or are you doing Royal or
Inter-American?
Nice. Yeah. We are too. I love it.
Yeah, no, they're great, and that actually one of my first cupping experiences was years ago, when Dave didn't even have a shop yet, and he was kind of roasting coffee on like a popcorn maker and had a little mini roaster and stuff at his house. He goes, "Oh, do you want to go to a cupping?" And our friend Joe, he was one of the head roasters for Sight Glass, and he left there to go roast for Blue Bottle out on the East Coast. And now he's like more on the production side. He doesn't roast as much anymore. But he was in town for Comic-Con. And so Dave's like, "Oh, we're going to go to a cupping. Do you guys want to go?" And I'd never been to one. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Like, this is well before we opened up the shop. And so that's when I met, Dana and everyone else at Inter-America.
That's who Dana. Amazing. Yeah. Dana's amazing, dude. Dude, she's so professional and just just kills it on the cupping table. Just yo, I love it.
Yeah, they're great people. So yeah, that's who we work with. I mean, it's, and even there's things that we try to do to still stay local. I mean, Moto, we get all our cleaning supplies from Moto. And Toddy stuff from Moto. I mean, we can like go to Amazon and probably get it cheaper, but it's nice to go still support the people that helped start coffee in San Diego in the first place. Like Moto's like one of those historical families where his dad started the Panikin coffee, which is like one of the first, like, okay, and we're not doing Maxwell House and Folgers anymore. We're gonna roast coffee. And, the Panikin Coffee House was one of the first local roasters, I think.
Up in Encinitas?
Yeah.
Where the train station. Yeah, I live right down the street from there.
So I don't know if that's the first original house, because he used to have spots in downtown and a few other places too. But Tori from Moto, his father was the owner of Panikin and kind of started coffee roasting in San Diego. Gangster. And then his son started Moto, and it was kind of that second wave generation of coffee, and just have a lot of respect for them for what they did to open the doors so we can all do what we do. And so we always kind of go there and still like buy all our cleaning supplies and rattleware and any of those things. Like we just kind of get directly through Moto.
That's down in the barrio, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because my friend seriously just DM'd me the other day. She I think she tagged me in like an Instagram or something, and she's like, "Have you been here?" I was like, "I know Moto, but I've never been there."
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh my God, their cold brew's bomb. You gotta try it."
The cold brew is pretty good.
Dude, I gotta try it. I gotta check this out now because I've been going to Por Vida so much now, and I mean, just to show support. And I think for me, another thing that I'm seeing starting to take shape is the art. And I mean, like I've talked about this before on the podcast, is that I like specialty in the sense where you walk into a coffee shop and there's clean and it's white and it looks, very modern. But I'm more like as you can see in here, we have the tentacles, and then you go into Por Vida and it's Lolos and graffiti. And so I'm more partial to that. And so I want to experience that more. But, yeah, man, I need to get down there and just check it out. Cause I need to know it's like hip hop. You gotta know who came before you. Yeah. Because I'm definitely also too, like, I think my jock mentality and like being the best, like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to be the best at it. And that's it. Yeah. So I think when that happens, you tend to like put blinders on and you focus only on
what you're doing.
Yeah. And then, but through this show, through the podcast, I've been able to open up my eyes a little bit more and see people who I haven't seen before. Yeah. It's not much like yourself. I'm going to head to your spot now this weekend when I have a day off. And like, boop, that's where we're going there. And then we're going to go down to Moto, do a little coffee crawl in a sense. Yeah. Like get one drink at your spot, get another drink down there. It's, that's what me and my wife do now. I mean, my wife loves coffee, but for instance, we live in Encinitas, so I'll go to Lofty, the roastery, because I know my friend Siri Simran works there. So we support there, get a coffee, and then we'll drive down to the barrio, get a coffee at Por Vida. Yeah. Because what they're offering is just like the Chicano culture stuff that I grew up with in my grandma's house. It just like seeing the Virgin Mary behind the counter. I'm like, yo, I feel like I'm at my grandma's house. Yeah. But now I can just go over to Moto, check that out, and there's probably still other things. Dude, honestly, I've never been to Panikin either, so I got to check that out now. So
yeah. I mean, those are kind of like the ground zero places for coffee in San Diego. I mean, even Calabria,
I know about Calabria.
Yeah, so Calabria is another one of those, like, kind of first wave bordering on, or kind of second wave bordering on third wave coffee. And, and that was, I used to go there all the time because that was one of the only good places to get coffee. And then I would go to Bird Rock when they opened. I was like, oh, what's this? And I'd go all the way out to Bird Rock to get coffee. And then, Dark Horse and Coffee and Tea opened, so I started going there, bouncing around those places. Then I would go to our friend James' place or Dave's with James Coffee. So yeah, I mean, it's it's fun to go out and like support. Yeah, we go to Por Vida sometimes and get coffee and go to different spots around town. But I don't know. I that's what I like about coffee is, I'm. Yeah, it's interesting because we're like so opposite, like in as far as like the like I gotta do this, I gotta do that. We're so just like, oh yeah, like whatever you want to do. Yeah, you're doing coffee, cool. I'll come try it out. I'll come check it out. Because I've had 7 C's before at a farmer's market, and I've had different coffee around town. So for me, that's my favorite part is going out and like meeting different people and trying different coffee and kind of, oh, what are you doing? Oh, that's cool. Or, I don't know. It's part of the, community ritualistic part of coffee.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I like to do that too.
That's like on the, on the merchant side of it, kind of saying like, of like, oh, talking to other people that are doing it and, like tasting what they're doing, because everyone's doing something interesting. You may or may not like it, it doesn't matter, but everyone's got something going on.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and I hope that doesn't, when I mean I focus on it and shut everything else out, I mean like I think when I want to do it, it's like I want to be the best, and I think that what I'm putting out, it should be the best. It's the best of what I can offer. But I love to go to other coffee shops and experience like Dark Horse. For me, it's funny that in a really weird way, it all comes back full circle because I'm finding out about David James Kennedy or whatever, how he's helped everybody, especially good homies of mine. Like Steel Mill are like really good homies of mine. That for me, when I came to San Diego, the first time I walked into James, that was the first time I think I mean, Zoom Bar was the first. My
Yeah.
wife would send me bags of coffee of theirs. So for me, it was like, oh, yo, Zoom Bar is
Yeah.
the spot.
It's great stuff.
She would send it to me in the bay. In the bay with all the good coffee,
Mhm.
she would send me a box with a Zoom Bar cup. And then every time after that was it like the bell ringer, the hummingbird,
Yeah.
or whatever Steve had. But then when I finally got down here and I started checking things out, I went to James.
Yeah.
And they had merch and they had all their cool shit. And I was
Yeah.
just like, yo, this is the spot.
Yeah.
And then Bird Rock opened right down the
Yeah.
street in Little Italy. And then I started going there. And I was like, yo, this is the spot. And then I don't know. It really kind of blew my mind. And it was funny is that I would go to places like St. Frank. I worked
Yeah.
up at on Polk Street in the
Uh-huh.
city. And I was a block from St. Frank. So I'd go there all the
Nice.
time.
Yeah.
But even when I go back now, I find myself like, damn, I want some coffee
Some
from San Diego.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's not even my own personal coffee. It's like, oh man, this Americano's good, but like, oh, this
Yeah.
one down in San Diego is like just a tad bit better. Or,
Yeah.
or maybe my profile or my palate is just a little different, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think what's going on in San Diego right now, especially for the coffee and the quality,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really rivaled by much.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I think people are doing interesting things. I think that people are not doing anything the same. I think people are like, well, at least what I'm tasting, not everyone's doing this like super bright, kind of light coffee. It's a mix, and things seem more balanced. And I notice things are getting more chocolatey. And that's what I like. I'm not into like super bright acidic espresso. I'm more into like the not dark but more chocolatey flavors of espresso, a little more like full bodied, and that's what I like in coffee. And I've noticed that people are starting to do a little bit more of that and kind of pulling back a little bit from the super bright, ultra like light
roast, yeah.
coffee stuff. That's like really big in Europe. And it's just so bright, and it's fine for what it is. It's just not what I like. And I noticed that in San Diego, people are kind of finding a balance between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I roasted a batch today from Lao. That's it's gonna be now on retail, and then next week we're gonna put it on batch brew. And it's called the village is called Pho Dam Quan.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I might have roasted it wrong. I'm full disclosure. But when I roasted on the small M3 roaster that we had, it was more complex, a little bit more acidic, but with that roaster, it's a little bit hard to tune it. And then I took it to the i5 today, and I roasted it exactly the way I had the parameters. I mean, taking it from that tiny roaster to the big one, so there's obviously going to be some discrepancies. But when I tasted it, I took the first sip and I looked at the beans, I cracked them open, I tasted them. I'm like, no, everything's good. It didn't really go too far. It was a 2-minute, 15-second development time, so it's relatively short post first crack. And it was straight chocolate and almond.
Yeah.
Undeniable. Little bit of acidity in the front, but straight chocolate. And I sipped it and I was, whoa, what is it? And I just looked at Ryan, our barista. I was like, yo, grab a cup. I didn't even say please. I felt hella bad. I was like, yo, please grab a cup. Grab a cup. And he was like, okay. I grabbed it, and then I told Cass, I was like, Cass, please grab a cup, our other barista. And I was like, you guys got to try this. And they tried it, and they were like, dude, that just tastes like a milk chocolate bar. And I was all, yeah. And is that what it's supposed to taste like? I was like, dude, the flavor profile says pineapple, cherry blossom, and almond. I was like, when I cupped it, and I sample roasted it, it tasted more like that. But when I took it to this and had better control and all these things, I was like, yo, this is a trip. Because another coffee from relatively close, it's another village. It's called the Setapung village. That coffee, I roasted it almost relatively the same. And it's like undeniable pear, apple, chocolate, and had these things, all these complex flavors. But then when I roasted it, this one, I was like, dude, this is like it almost tastes like a Brazil.
Yeah.
Where you could throw that in espresso and it could fire,
Yeah.
and it was exciting, but I immediately was like, okay, I have to adjust this tomorrow. But
So is that what I was drinking here?
no, so
Which
that
one was this?
that's a Vietnam. That's
Okay.
a Kaha Sadama blend, which I don't, you know, I am not gonna lie. I Googled the shit out of it. I was like Vietnamese African blend, and I haven't found anything at all. And so with some reservations, I don't think anybody else is doing that right now, but I could be wrong. If somewhere in Southeast Asia, maybe they're doing it. But as far as I know here, that's the only place. And, I took a leap on it and I thought it was going to be good. And once I made it, I didn't tell any of the team what it was, but I just had them start trying it. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? They're like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
it's
blah.
really good.
Thank you. But
yeah, because I mean, it tastes like chocolate, almond, and just like this little sizzle of blueberry at the end. Yeah, it's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But we have two. You can see right here. We have this Wilbur Burtis like double batch brew.
Yeah.
So I'll do contrast. I do one which we call it our dark roast, but it's taken to it's darker. It's darker for sure. But then I always try to have the Kahasa Dama now. And so it's not really a light roast, but it's the lightest roasted of all of our coffees. And so people will try it. And now people will come and be like, can I get that blend that you guys have? And I'm like, yes, dude, like, hell yeah. Like we're working on a name for it, and I've been working on it, but the working name right now, because the baristas are like, yo, it's fire. So they're calling it Fire Blend. And I'm like, okay, thank you guys, but that's not going to be the name. But I mean, it feels good because people at first were not responding to it at all. It wasn't, it's not good. It's not bad. It's just, they weren't like, oh no, I'll take the dark roast or whatever. And now people will come in and they want that, or they'll be like, dude, your espresso. I mean, that's another victory. A small victory is when somebody comes in specifically for your espresso and they say, yo, that's just delicious. It's like, oh, yeah, dude, you feel like a real coffee person at that point, because I've talked about this ad nauseum, but I've been roasting now for, I think, going on 4 years, I think. Wow. And I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, well, Steve, he's been roasting for 25 plus years. I mean, he was 25 years when I got there, so it's probably close to 30 now. But I was like, dude, I can't even touch what I'll go to the Zoom bars in Cardiff or Sereno Valley or Del Mar, and it's like, fuck, dude, it's still the best. Like I strive to be what he can do. Yeah. But yeah, man, I don't know.
Yeah, because I'd go to the Zoom bar in Sereno Valley a few times.
Oh yeah,
I love that spot.
Dude, it's so funny is I ask a lot of questions, as you know.
Yeah.
And I would get to roast with Steve sometimes. We had a head roaster who I'd roast with sometimes when I was learning, but then Steve would, on my roast day, he's like, hey, I want to roast this batch real quick. I just want to try something. I was like, all right, cool. So he'd do a couple batches in the middle of my roast day, and I would just try to pick his brain. And he would just look at me sometimes. He's like, he'd just throw his hands up. He's like, yeah, I don't know, man. He's like, I just like it. If it tastes good in the cup, you're fine. And it's like, you can be as scientific as you want, but at the end of the day, the guy who taught me, he's just like, whatever. Like, I know what to do. Yeah. I don't need the computer. He's like, I have that dial on the front. I know where it looks. Yeah. And that's it. And so it's just, fuck it.
Especially if you're like that close to it for so long, basically it's almost muscle memory for you. I'm sure for people that have been roasting that long, they just kind of know, oh, it doesn't matter what the parameters were. I just know if I do it for this long and it comes out looking like this, then it tastes great. Yeah. And for some people that works awesome, and other people, they need every meticulous note or the apps or whatever else, to make it work. But to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like I was very lucky because not only did I have Steve, they have a Probat, refurbished Probat L12 from the 50s. And so there's multiple air dampers, and then there's like 2 burner rows. But then I had Steve who, just throw his hands up sometimes. But then I had our head roaster, who is this dude, Jason, who was very meticulous, just like you were describing. And I got the best of both worlds, because sometimes it's like, dude, fuck, like it tastes good. Like what I was saying about the Photon Quan, I tasted it. I was like, this is fucking amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And that's not burnt. So I know I didn't take it too far. And, I know my parameters. Like, okay, cool. But then I will spend time reading chapters and books and getting nerded out on it and being like, okay. But then I always kind of bring it back at the end of the day. It's like, just kiss, right? And just keep it simple, stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I call myself stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, stupid. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, just.
Well, I mean, like Dave from James, I remember when he was training us and he would, he'd talk a little about roasting. He's like, yeah, just vibe it out, man. Just
It's
vibe
all
it
about
out.
vibes.
He's like, yeah, you can measure, but just vibe it out, man. How's it tasting? It doesn't matter. Like,
Yep.
How's it tasting?
Try every batch, bro.
And, that's what he would always say. Just vibe it out. Just vibe it out.
Dude, I've when I have roasters on, I always ask them. I mean, maybe we'll get your roaster on here and just ask, especially working in a warehouse. I'm sure you get to have this part because I've done commercial and specialty, and I've come back to specialty because I realized this is where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, if I'm roasting and I put some jams on, bro, like you get some funk. Or like this morning I came in, I was roasting the Black Sabbath for most of the day.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, you know? Or some days I'll put on some, Natalia Lafourcade is like this Spanish guitarist player.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh man, I don't even know. Sometimes, like when Nipsey, I've been listening to Nipsey pretty much nonstop since he passed away. So I'll just be like, ocean views, like just like getting into
get
it,
in the
know?
funk, yeah.
Dude, or get some, there's another song I listen to called They Roll. It's the game in Nipsey Hussle. Oh man, rolling on Slauson, just like, dude,
But that's the thing. I mean, I know because I see his post and he's roasting. He's just like, blasting, NWA, and then it's like Slayer, King Diamond, whatever. It's all this metal stuff. But yeah, I know he just blasting music while he's like roasting,
Dude, there's one band. I feel like a dummy now because I had the opportunity to see them, but I don't know whether it's preference or just hearing other people around me because they'd be like, I hate LCD sound system, and I was like, whatever, I don't know who they are really. And then I went to a festival and they were like one of the headliners, and I was like, oh well, everybody at the coffee shop apparently hates them, so I was like, whatever, let's just go see this guy, because nobody knew where we were at the festival. So I was like, yeah, let's just go see them. And then here at Seven Seas, somebody, like, it was on a playlist, and I was like, oh, this song is sick. Like, and I was roasting, and I was just like, I was like, oh, what? And then I look, and it's LCD sound system, and I started laughing.
Like, oh, man.
And then, I was like, dude, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like somebody might say it, but you don't really know.
Yeah.
And then, so I like found one of their, this is the LCD sound system, and just like put their playlist on, and I was like, oh, this is like good shit to roast
really
to.
good, yeah.
Dude, and now I love them.
Yeah, that guy James Murphy is really talented.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude, we seriously could talk forever, but I always cut these at an hour 30, and we're at an hour 20.
All
So we'll just cut it there at LCD Sound System being a great band.
It's true.
It is.
It's true.
Well, tell the people where they can find you. Location, Instagrams, whatever.
Location. So, yeah, Heartwork Coffee Bar in Mission Hills at heartworkcoffeebar.com.
Okay.
At Heartwork Coffee Bar on Instagram.
All one word?
All one word.
Yes.
No dashes, no underscores, no stars, no nothing.
No hashtags.
No hashes. Just one word, one long word.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. It was great.
We're definitely going to do this again.
Yeah, thank you.
Dude,
all right.
my man.
Take care.
Thank you, sir. Peace.
Peace.